Brought to you by Almond Auctions, the worldwide leader in antique tractor auctions.
Story County, Iowa is corn and soybean country. And if you're with Don Rimothy, it's also Farmall country. Don grew up on red power, and this machine he's driving is just one of the bright red prizes in his growing collection.
This tractor is a 1957 230 Farmall, and I purchased it near Ames, Iowa about 9 or 10 years ago.
Featuring IH's new two-tone paint scheme, the first Farmall 230s rolled off the production line in 1956 and were manufactured through 1958. Don's tractor is one of about 7,100 built during that 3-year period.
Well, it was just an offshoot of the Farmall C tractor. It had some improvements and slightly more power than the Farmall C. But by the time this tractor was made, farms were starting to get larger, so many farmers had moved to buying bigger tractors. It was a handy tractor for a lot of your lighter jobs. Cultivation was a 2-row cultivator in those days, and a lot of guys used them to mow hay, for instance, and that type of thing.
Don's 230 showcases some of IH's innovations of the late 1950s, features such as the hydraulic couplers and a new hitch system.
In the early 50s, IH introduced the fast hitch system. Ford was using a 3-point hitching system for their mounted implements, but IH decided to go with the fast hitch, and it has these 2 hitch points that you back up, and there's a prongs that slide in there, and that's the way the implement is mounted to the tractor.
The neat as a pin 230 you see today is a far cry from what this tractor looked like when Don first brought it home.
Well, I got it about 9 or 10 years ago, and it was in really bad shape. It looked like it had been hit with a hammer every morning before they started it, and the sheet metal is in really bad shape, and it did not run very well. I did manage to get it running. When we loaded it on the trailer, one of the front wheels broke off. The axle broke, and so that was not a good start to my ownership, and I wondered if I had made a good decision, but ultimately I feel I did.
Now, looking like new, the Farmall 230 runs like a top. The 123 cubic engine was designed to produce 28 PTO horsepower, and Don teams the 230 with a vintage 2-bottom plow.
This plow is a C20 plow, and it was made in the 50s. It has 14-inch bottoms and was probably a pretty good match for this size tractor in average plowing conditions. I enjoy having implements with my old tractors. It gives a little flavor of what farming was like in those days and how these tractors worked.
Like many of those with the fever, Don's love of tractors began at an early age.
I was probably driving tractors when I was maybe 10 years old. And I used to ride with Dad all the time, you know. If I'd get home from school and ride with him on the tractor. It's not really approved anymore, you know, for safety reasons, but back in those days I rode many, many miles with Dad on the tractor. And it was something I always looked forward to, and I was happy for the day when I could drive myself.
His enthusiasm eventually led him to restoration, with the Farmall 230 being just one example of his high-quality work.
In 1995, there was a big International Harvester show near Waukee, Iowa, which is about a half an hour from my farm. And I decided to restore the Farmall 400 that my dad had bought new in 1955. Well, actually, the show was in July of '95, and in August, Dad passed away. He was nearly 90 years of age, so that was kind of special that I had it done in time for him to see. I think he derived a great deal of enjoyment seeing his old tractor looking nice.
Today, Don still takes good care of the sharp-looking Farmall 400 his dad had, and his stable has grown to include more than a dozen pieces of Red Power's past in various stages of restoration. But it's pretty plain to see that Don has a soft spot for his little Farmall 230.
It drives very nicely, it steers easily, and it's quiet to run. The motor is quiet, and it's just an enjoyable little tractor to drive.